Hello everybody, Mac here. Welcome back to the show. What we have today is, well, we have something new. And not just new to the channel, but new in general. This is Spin Master's League of Legends Champion Collection Thresh. Now, full disclosure, I don't know League of Legends. I know it's a video game, that's where my knowledge of it ends. But I do know that this looks really cool in here. And I also know that Spin Masters, having dipped their toe into action figures with the 3 3/4 inch Batman line that came out, was it last year or was it 2019? I think it was last year. And their big 10-inch tall figures, of which I have one for Wonder Woman, that I'm kind of glad that they dipped into what I'm assuming is the 6-inch 1/12 scale figures, because I think their 3 3/4 Batman figures look really good. Never got my hands on one, but I thought they looked really good. That I'm curious to see how they do with a 6-inch figure. Now, looking at the box, the packaging is also something that's really nice to look at. That if you're a person that keeps things in box, Spin Master really gave you something to look at. First of all, let's bring this up. I don't know if you can see this, but I like these cross sections in the plastic in the window up front. That makes it look like shattered glass or a stained glass window or something. They have their hologram down here, first edition, which I think is kind of cool. The design of the box, I feel, is really solid, and they have some really nice artwork across the top of the figure inside. On the side here, we have more the wraparound window. On the back, we have a promotional image of the figure inside and his accessories, and even a little bio. It says, Thresh, the Chain Warden. Thresh is an ambitious and restless spirit of the Shadow Isles, imprisoning victims in his unholy lantern to torture for all eternity. Which is pretty cool, because it sounds like he captures souls in this lantern right here, which I'm always a fan of stuff like that. On the side, we have sort of like an avatar image of Thresh. It is number 1 in the series. And up top, just League of Legends, Thresh, that image. And on the bottom, just a barcode, completely black. Yeah, so I think the packaging looks good. I think the figure inside looks good. Like I said, I'm assuming that this is a 6-inch figure. So without further ado, let's get this open, and we will take a look at Spin Master Champion Collection League of Legends Thresh. Alright, just real quick, if you're somebody that's trying to preserve the box like I am, because I might actually keep this in the box because I do like the display of him once you get him open, that with the shape of this box, you'd think the easiest way to go in would be to flip this side open, but this is all one piece that I'm kind of trying to go in from the bottom, but it's also taped there. I'm trying not to damage the box much. This piece has to come off. Give me 1 second. I don't have my knife with me. Gonna try these scissors. Just cut this tape. I feel like I'm cutting the lid. Never tried to, like, I really chomped that. Oh, there's a tab in there, that's why. There's a tab in there, and they put tape over the tab. Okay. And then pull the box out, and there's everything inside. So we'll be taking a look at that in a second. Okay, friends, here he is, out of the box, and before we get to the figure, I'm going to continue with this. This is the tray that Thresh was in, and if you're thinking you're going to take him out and then put him back in and store him in the box, I don't know if you can see, but the cutouts in the plastic are very deep. Thresh, the figure, and especially his one accessory over here, was held in by tie-ins, by little pieces of plastic, little plastic straps. That this isn't like Hasbro or even McFarlane Toys, where if you push him back in, I don't think the shell, the clamshell, is going to hold him in once you cut those ties. Like his lantern up here, will definitely fit in, and the spot where his scythe was, which I think is up here in this corner, that'll hold in. I don't think Thresh will fit in and stay on his own. The stand will. I don't think this piece will either, which you'll see what this is, his chain to hold everything together. So he may not stay in the box once you cut him out. But now, getting to the figure, there's a lot here. There's a lot here to like. There's some bad to it, but there's some really good stuff going on with it too. The first thing we're going to do is put the tape measure to him, and we're going to find out what scale Spin Masters is going for here. That to the top of his head, which I'm assuming is right about here, we're looking at 6.5 inches tall. To the top of his horns right here, he's at about 8.25 inches tall. And because he has this hunched over look, you'll see that he kind of does match up with 6 and 7 inch figures because of like how he's kind of hunched, and you'll see what I mean in the size comparisons. Now, something that I find interesting, you may notice, like, his gown, let's back it up a little, his robes drag on the ground. I don't know if you can see that. Let's angle this a little. But you can see where it's on the ground. This is a very soft, very pliable plastic. It's almost cloth, and I almost wish that it was cloth because of how bendy it is. That if this was black cloth and it had wires in it and you could position these different pieces, that would be really cool. And I think it also helps that these different pieces are here. Like, you have all these cuts, so there's no traffic coning going on. And I think I know what they were going for. I still think cloth would have looked better, but for using plastic, I think Spin Master did a really good job of sort of doing the whole robes on the ground, dragging on the ground thing. And I really dig that. And that's actually really important that you'll see coming up in the articulation, because he does have some articulation issues, especially in the legs, which let's just jump right into that. Okay, starting at Thresh's head here, we're going to see the first real issue, that you can see how it's sort of just attached to this translucent plastic peg. There's no up, there's no down. He can look side to side, but it's kind of at an angle, as you can see. So there is side to side, and there's no tilt really to speak of. He also has a hard time looking straight up, along with that hunched over posture. And I feel like his head isn't centered correctly on the torso. It's not really noticeable until you get up close and you start looking at it, and whenever you're posing him, you're not going to notice. But his head is a little bit off-center. Now, his arms can come up. His arms can go up pretty high, considering his armor going on, this bone armor going on right there. They can go up past 90. They can do a full 360 spin, but because this is hard plastic, you have to put the arms almost straight out to the side if you want to go all the way around with it. And then it gets a little hairy, and there it comes right back around. He has a single jointed elbow that you can do 90. It's a hinge and swivel at the elbow. He has translucent hands, and you can see the black plastic peg in there. He has these translucent hands that do spin, and they hinge in and out. Okay, mine are sticking a little, but they do hinge in and out right there. Now, he has this ab crunch right here, but there's no crunch to it. He doesn't go back, he doesn't go forward. So pretty much he's static straight up and down like this, because with the head not having any articulation, with the abs not really having any articulation, the only forward and backward bending he's going to have is at the hips. Now, this does twist. This is actually a really nice twist. This feels really good. It flows really smooth right here at the waist, or at the ab crunch, rather. But there's no side to side, and it feels like there's a ball joint in there, and it feels like there should be some side to side, but there's really not, and there's even a little bit of wiggle going on, but it's mostly just pivoting. Now, down here at the waist, he has another, if you grab that, he has another waist twist right here that I don't understand why they did 2 waist twists that close together, because they're kind of fighting each other. That when you're posing him, this one down here, this bottom one, the actual waist twist, kind of wants to move on its own, and I found myself having to keep resetting it, that I almost wish this would have been one solid static piece attaching to the crotch piece down here underneath the skirt, and then the only twist would have been up here, because this is very nice, this is very annoying. Now, like I said, these are very soft, so they will get out of the way. For the leg articulation, which we can take a look at, you can see that instead of drop-down hips, let's see if we can get a good look at this. All this skirting here. But instead of drop-down hips, the hips are already sort of detached, and they do come out to the side very well, and they even hold form, even with this stuff laying on top of it. They come forward nicely. They go backwards really nice. He does have, sorry, let me get this out of the way. He does have double jointed knees, that the knees do some really great travel. He has a thigh cut, thigh swivel right there, that there's nothing in the sculpt to hide it, but trust me, this is going to hide it completely. You saw the double jointed knees. There is no boot cut here, and he does have a sort of ball joint on the ankle, that the ankle goes back and the ankle goes forward. There's no forward-facing pin for rock, so the ankle doesn't rock side to side. And when you look at the joint on the ankle, see how it's that ball joint there? I almost thought that this was kind of like the McFarlane style swivel hinge swivel, where if I would have taken this, I could have turned it, and then that, and then spun, and then you would have had the side to side. But it's not, because that's actually one piece molded onto the foot piece right there. So his articulation isn't bad. I think Spin Master is having a good start with the articulation. I don't mind the absence of the double jointed elbows, because I think this looks better than having the sculpt for either the gauntlet or the arm double trenched. And he has some pretty decent movement for them, so that's cool. And then, like I said, you have the hinge and swivel at the elbow, nothing in the bicep. This is annoying. I wish this was one piece. I wish this was the only spot for twisting the waist. And down here, with as detailed as these boots are, one, I get why you didn't want to break up the sculpt of the boot, so I get why there's no boot cut, but the ankle rock, I think, is the most egregious thing that was left out, was not being able to do an ankle rock on it. I think, now granted, this type of figure, you may not have him down in these deep, widespread poses, but still, I think that was a missed thing, putting an ankle rocker in there. And also, if you're going to have these boots, and this really, really nice sculpt on the boots, I almost wish that this would have been a single-jointed knee like the elbow, and then you could have just had a hinge and swivel at the knee. I might just be nitpicking on that, I'm fully aware, but I don't know. But other than that, I like him. I really like him. Let's take a look at the sculpt now. So let's take a look at this face. First of all, I think they did a great job on the face. I don't know what Thresh is supposed to look like, and I kind of dig how it's making me think that maybe the skull in-game isn't actually attached, and it's just kind of hovering over the body, because they have this translucent plastic, you can see right there, this translucent green plastic, and then it's just sort of like stuck onto a translucent green stem right there. That makes me think in-game the skull is just kind of hovering over the body of this thing. And I think the sculpt on the skull and these horn protrusions up here, whatever they're supposed to be, I think that looks really good. I just wish the head had a little bit more movement, a little bit more range to it. I really like all of the texturing and the detail and the sculpt and the torso, in the torso piece here. I would have liked to have seen this dulled down a little. I think it's a little too shiny for the type of character that he is, or maybe somehow bring out the detail a little bit more, because I really do like it. But then you take a look on back and look at that. That is awesome with this other skull and then this spine that's hanging down. Okay. And I think they did a really good job on the sculpt. It's just a shame that there's nothing that really brings this out, really makes it pop. Now we have the translucent plastic up here in the shoulders like you saw. This is just painted in. There's no translucent in the headpiece. And we have translucent plastic in his hands. And the hands are very soft. When I was playing around with him and getting his accessories into it, the hands are very soft. It's like they knew translucent plastic would be brittle. So these are very soft, easily manipulated hands. Let's get his arms out of the way. These skulls on the side, I think, look really good. Once again, though, I would have liked to have seen a little bit more color. Maybe in the mouth and the eye sockets, a little bit of a paint app like here, just to make the eye sockets and the mouth pop, make them stand out. Like giving them the same paint color that you gave his keys right here, just so that there's a little bit of difference, something that makes it stand out. I think his skirt, his robes are sculpted really well. I really like this bone, these bones that are in the front of his robes. And I like how they're double layered like that. And like I said, these are very soft pieces that it's almost cloth. And they look really good. Like, I think they look really good. I think the sculpt on this is really well done. And I like the holes in the tattered of the robe too, giving it that aged, worn, he's been wearing these for hundreds and hundreds of years look. And then he has this little design. Oh, no, wait, that's just another tear. Never mind. I thought there was some sort of heraldry up front, but no. And then underneath, the legs are featureless, which I don't mind because they're going to be covered by the robes. So why would you bother giving any amount of detail into the legs up top? And then you saw the boots. We come down to the boots. That the boots do have this little bit of wash on them because the legs are brown, the boots are brown, and they have this metallic wash to make them stand out. And then you saw the foot when we were playing around with the ankle. And I think the boots look really good. And like I said, I get why they didn't put a boot cut in there and they didn't want to break up the sculpt of this. But, like I said, well, you know what I said. Now, the ankle rock, I think, is egregious because if you keep his legs together to get some more height out of them, you can see how his ankles turned in, that he has to have this wide stance there to get him to stand up. But I don't hate that. I just wish that we could have gotten his legs together a little bit more to maybe get just a little bit of height out of him. But when you flare this out, when you flare his robes out, let me lower this a little, you can see he does have a decent stance. Once you position him and the robes are on the ground, and whoop, and there we go. So, all in all, I think he looks good standing. I really do. I just wish they would have put those ankle rockers in so we could have gotten a little bit more height out of him. And the head, the more I look at it, the head is really bothering me, that the head doesn't seem to have a decent neutral position on it. And now we're going to take a look at his accessories, because he has a few. And by the way, if you can hear that in the background, I apologize. My neighbor decided to start cutting the grass. That first we have his lantern, that according to his bio, this is what he traps souls in. And I always love when they do gothic things with a lantern. I always love when, like, a lantern has some sort of supernatural power. And it's green, too. So that's cool. You have this wash, this little bit of green wash around it that sort of gives it like this glowing look, and you have translucent plastic once again in the middle for the lantern, for the glass of the lantern. So that looks really cool. It's a basic sculpt, but I think it's a really good sculpt, and I don't know if this accurately portrays what is in the video game, but I think the simplicity of this is very well done, especially in contrast to how complex the figure is on its own, that I really dig this. So let's set that down for now. And then we will also take a look at his scythe right here. And this is really cool. I really like the look of this. I really like this translucent. You can see it, there's black on the inside, so it looks like the weapon is on the inside, and this translucent green is like a green flame that's enveloping the weapon. Instead of just making the blade in translucent plastic, they actually put a plastic core, a black core on the inside, and they put the translucent plastic on the outside to give it that flame effect. And this is also a very soft rubber that you can see, so that you hopefully it won't get brittle like translucent plastic does. And once again, I really like the sculpt of the scythe here. It fits his aesthetic. It looks really good. Now you can see on the bottom here, we have a hole on the bottom of the scythe, and we also have the ring for the lantern, and that is for this piece. And this is the piece that was strapped in, that was held in by a bunch of straps, that I don't think this would fit back into the case if we wanted to store it back in the packaging. So you can see that there's a half round. Let's see if we can focus in on it. There's a half round for that. So there's only one way that this fits. This connects the two of them. That pops right on like that. See that? That looks good. And I like how this chain is sort of like bone. And then this hook on the end, you see that right there? The lantern just slips right into that, and it hangs off of it. And then he can hold on to both of these with this chain trailing behind him. That, let's bring him forward. Like I said, he has really soft, rubbery hands that the accessories fit in there so easily. See that? No muss, no fuss. I might need to put it down a little bit more so he has a more tighter grip on it. Right about there at the base. And then this hand comes up, and you can put bending the thumb right there. So he's holding on to both of them with this bone chain curling out behind him. And I really like that. Now, obviously, it takes some work to get into a position where he can properly, he looks right with everything in his hands. But I think we're onto something here, and I really like the look of this. Now, unfortunately, as you can see, that between the rubber skirt and having all of this extra weight up front with the lantern, it does kind of off-balance him a little bit. That you have to find that sweet spot to hold him up. Or you could, lay down for a second, buddy, use the stand that comes with it. And I really like this stand. And I saw another figure in the Champion collection, so I'm assuming they all come with the stand. The L is indented into there. It's part of the mold. You have this little step up front that I don't know what that is supposed to be. Wait, is this like the direction finder, the directional thing on a video game? It tells you what direction is forward. That would be cool. One peg, and you can see that it's raised. It's like a raised dais. That this is a really cool stand for this figure. And you just put him on there. And there you go. Thresh is ready for the shelf. Okay, putting him against some other 112 figures. Here he is with G.I. Joe Classified, Cobra Trooper, and Destro. Putting him with some other monstrous figures. Here he is with Lanyard Toys, Xenomorph Drone, and City Hunter Predator. And here's what I mean when I say that you could fudge him into your 7-inch line, because here he is with Mortal Kombat 11 Spawn and Geralt of Rivia, both from McFarlane Toys. Spawn is a little bit bigger than 7 inches, so he's on the bigger side of it. But Geralt is pretty much 7 inches exactly to the top of his head. And even though his eye line is a little bit higher than Thresh here, this could work together, something like that. And just for kicks, here he is with Marvel Select Thanos and Lady Death. And finally, here he is beside NECA Toys Ultimate Pinhead. Okay, real quick, I found out two things. First of all, you can see that you can put Thresh back in the box. He doesn't exactly pop into the plastic, but the plastic shell is deep enough that it holds him and all his accessories in place. His bone whip on the side here that holds his lantern and his scythe together is a little loose, but the figure, the lantern, the scythe, everything is held in there, so you can put him back in the box. Also, I re-taped the bottom because as you saw me go through the bottom, that was a big mistake, because up top you have this flap, and then this flap opens, and it comes out easy as pie. So there you go. If you want to try and save the box, go in through the top, and the figure can fit back into his plastic shell. So I think Spin Master is off to a fairly good job with their Champion collection. There's a lot to like about this figure. There's a lot that can be improved upon, and I do hope they improve upon it, because this is a good start to the line. This is a great looking figure. The articulation needs a little bit of work. The way that the head is mounted needs a little bit of work. Although, like I keep saying, the way that this head is mounted may be unique to this figure, because maybe it is supposed to be hovering over that void over its shoulders. I don't know. I like the scythe. I like how they have like the weapon inside, and the soft translucent plastic is like a green flame surrounding the blade. I like the soft translucent hands. Now, translucent plastic can be very brittle after a time, so whether or not those hands are going to last, that's what we're going to have to wait and see. I really like the sculpt of it. I even like how the robes are just a little too long so that they can flare out onto the table, onto the shelf top, whatever you're standing them on. And I think the stand is a really nice touch too. McFarlane gives you stands, but Spin Master here, that's like a really, I don't want to say really nice stand, but that's a nice stand for a $20 figure. I really like that. I really appreciate that. I do wish that the head was articulated a little bit better. I do wish that the head was centered a little bit better. I do wish that the waist twist was solid and they just used the torso crunch or the ab crunch for turning at the waist. I do wish there was a little bit more of a paint app to the figure, and I do wish that it had ankle rockers. Now, hopefully these are all things that will improve upon and that will change in this Champion line as Spin Master moves forward. As far as I know, this is the first time they've ever tried to do like a 1/12 or a 6-inch line, and I think they're off to a really good start. They have a lot to improve upon, but I think this is a really good start. And as you saw, you can even cheat a little bit and put these into your 7-inch line. Like, I really was hoping that was going to happen, because I wanted to put these in with like the supernatural and the monsters and the bad guys that I have going against Geralt and the Witcher line and all of that. So I think this looks great. I think this looks unique. I know nothing about League of Legends, so I don't know how true to the character in the video game this is, but as a figure, I think it looks really unique. It looks good, and it's going to look great on the shelf. And even the box, Spin Master gave you something to look at. That, yeah, the box is a little big, it'll take up a lot of real estate when you put it on your shelf, but I think it's a really good display piece, both in and out of the cardboard. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you've played League of Legends. Let me know if you know anything about this character and how well the figure does or does not represent what you've seen in the video game. So until next time, my friends, happy Halloween. Stay safe, stay healthy, and as always, thank you for watching.